A24's The Drama has been one of my most highly anticipated movies of this year. This movie has one of the best trailers I've seen in such a long time, and it does the perfect job of establishing the mystery without giving anything away. So I knew I had to see this in theaters as early as possible so I don't have the mystery spoiled for myself. Before I get into any spoilers, I just want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed this film. The dark comedy and the jokes were so well done that my entire theater, including myself, was laughing. The visuals and the settings were great, as I would expect from any A24 movie. I don't think the soundtrack was anything memorable, but nothing to dislike either. And I think it fit fine enough in this film. The writing was really great, and I thought that the way the story unfolds after the main incident that they hint at in the trailer, I thought that was really fun, and the pacing was really on point that I did not notice that 2 hours had just flown by. Zendaya and Robert Pattinson do an absolutely stellar job in their respective roles, and their chemistry was also very believable and very well suited for this film. The side characters were a little flat, but that didn't bother me as the story really isn't about them. Rachel, who is the maid of honor, was the only memorable character, but I found her extremely annoying and holier than thou, and found her to be kind of a hypocrite. But kudos to the actor for playing that part really well. Now, moving on to the spoilers section. The movie centers around this incident that we uncover about this couple that's getting married, and that kind of just throws everything off track. And we find out this crux of this mystery really early into this movie. I want to say 15 minutes in, you kind of already know what it is. That is, we find out that Zendaya's character Emma was planning on executing something really terrible. I'm not going to say what it is just for YouTube's sake, but she's planning on executing something really terrible, but she doesn't end up actually doing it. But this does come across as a total shock, especially to her fiancé, Charlie, and their friends. The thing is, though, the drama isn't actually about this terrible thing that Emma was going to do, but it's more so a story about two people who love each other and that have to deal with the acceptance and forgiveness around this horrific truth coming to light. But the issue is there was no impact, even though the intention for harm was there. And while this intention was coming from a place of hurt and insecurity, is it forgivable just because Emma didn't actually go through with it and even ended up being an activist against it later? What does that actually say about who she is as a person and who she is as a partner? And is she who Charlie actually fell in love with? When I watched this trailer, I was wondering what could she have possibly done that would warrant such an intense shock, but not also be an automatic deal breaker. I kept theorizing and theorizing, but not once in a million years would I've expected that to be the reason. The movie really starts out when this reveal happens in a dinner scene with their friends, when they all exchange their stories for the worst thing that they've ever done. And I thought that exploration for morally complex and nuanced characters was really interesting to watch. The premise itself is absolutely unhinged and crazy, but it was such a fascinating watch. I will say that learning about Rachel, who is the maid of honor, and her story was pretty terrible. I also thought that it was an interesting mirror against Emma's story about an exploration about intention versus impact. So, for example, Rachel ended up locking this kid in an RV closet in the middle of a forest and left him there overnight, and lied to his family about knowing where he is, solely because she just panicked. So she didn't intend to harm him, but there was an impact of harm there. Emma, on the other hand, planned out this really awful, unforgivable thing, but didn't actually end up going through with it, mainly because someone else had gotten to it first, and she found herself in these friend groups that effectively crushed the insecurity and lack of belonging that she was facing earlier that even led her to plan this thing in the first place. So in Emma's case, there was an intention of doing something awful, but no impact on anyone else. So where do we draw the line? What are we willing to accept from our partners, etc.? All in all, I thought this was just so interesting and thought-provoking to watch. I also thought that the wedding scene had such a well-executed escalation of tension, and that final speech from Charlie had me looking away and closing my ears out of cringe. So well done to the writers, because it was just so chaotic in the best, most entertaining way possible. I also really enjoyed the themes of starting over when things don't go the way they planned. We see this a few times in this movie, from when Charlie fumbles asking out Emma in the beginning, so they start over, when they're trying to be intimate, but it doesn't work, so they try starting over, and in the end, when the wedding day was such a shit show, so they start over, again, at the diner after. I enjoyed seeing that come full circle and thought it was a nice touch. Overall, I thought this was such an interesting movie, full of chaos in the best way and really thought-provoking. I enjoyed the performances and the writing very much, and it was just so much fun, especially watching in theaters. So that's it for me. Thank you. Bye.